Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's just a flippant statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
question.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his
Your
response.
time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add. Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation. I don't regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr.
Senator? Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use
suspend
my time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely.
What's up, Right View Nation? Welcome back to the channel where we cut through the liberal nonsense and give you the truth. If this is your first time here, make sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the notification bell because we're bringing you content that the mainstream media won't. Today, we're breaking down an absolutely spectacular performance by Secretary of State Marco Rubio as he demolished a whining liberal senator in what can only be described as a masterclass in conservative leadership. And folks, this is exactly why we voted for Trump and why America is winning again. Let me tell you what happened here. Senator Van Hollen, and if that name sounds familiar, it's because he's been a consistent anti-American voice in the Senate for years, decided to throw a tantrum during this hearing. For 7 straight minutes, this guy went on an unhinged rant attacking Secretary Rubio for actually putting America first. And what did Rubio do? He stayed calm, collected, and then absolutely destroyed every single one of Van Hollen's pathetic talking points with facts and logic. First, let's talk about foreign aid. Van Hollen is crying because Rubio and the Trump administration are cutting wasteful spending. Are you kidding me? Rubio pointed out they cut funding for male circumcisions in Mozambique. How is that making America stronger? They cut funding for a Big Cat YouTube channel. $227,000 of your tax dollars going to cat videos. They cut $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that even means. This is exactly what we voted for. We want our tax dollars spent on Americans, not on bizarre pet projects around the world, while our own veterans are homeless and our infrastructure is crumbling. Then Van Hollen has the audacity to complain about student visa revocations. Let me be crystal clear here. If you come to America as a guest on a student visa and decide to burn down buildings, take over libraries, and disrupt our universities, you should absolutely have your visa revoked. These aren't American citizens exercising free speech. These are foreign nationals abusing our hospitality. Rubio was absolutely right when he said visas are privileges, not rights. You want to come riot on our campuses? You want to support terrorists? Then get out. American students are paying tens of thousands of dollars to get an education, not to watch foreign agitators turn their campuses into war zones. And don't even get me started on Van Hollen's ridiculous claims about McCarthyism.
Senator Van Hollen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you and I served together in Congress for 15 years. We didn't always agree, but I believe we shared some common values. A belief in defending democracy and human rights abroad, and honoring the Constitution at home. That's why I voted to confirm you. I believed you would stand up for those principles. You haven't. You've done the opposite. And you used to speak with conviction about the importance of foreign aid as a tool to advance American values and interests. Then you stood by while Elon Musk took a chainsaw to USAID and other assistance programs. That has left a staggering toll. Broken trust with countries, openings for China and other adversaries, and countless preventable deaths of children and others. Take Sudan, for example. The freezing of U.S. humanitarian assistance forced the closure of nearly 80% of the emergency food kitchens there. 2 million famine-affected people were left without access to food. People died because of those actions. Mothers, fathers, and children. Tons of emergency food that could have saved their lives was left rotting in warehouses. because you and Elon Musk refused to let USAID do its job. Sudan is a country where, by the administration's own determination, a genocide is unfolding in Darfur. But here's where it goes from cruel to despicable. While cutting off food aid to Sudanese families living through an actual genocide, you're fast-tracking white South Africans for refugee status under a manufactured claim that they are the victims of genocide. You tried to block the admission of individuals who had already been approved to come here as refugees while making bogus claims to justify granting such status to Afrikaners. You've made a mockery of our country's refugee process, turning it into a system of global apartheid where political ideology and race, more than truth or need, matter. And while you've turned away from a genocide in Sudan and invented one in South Africa, you teamed up with President Trump to throw the Ukrainian people under the bus and have been played like a fiddle by Vladimir Putin. Of course, Donald Trump not only said he would end the war in Ukraine on day one, he also said he would end the war in Gaza on day one. And yet last week, you were all running around to Gulf states, giving away very sensitive American AI and chips technology, but doing nothing to end the war in Gaza and get the remaining hostages returned. You know that for 78 days, the Netanyahu government did not allow a scrap of food to enter Gaza to reach over 2 million civilians. 57 children have died from malnutrition so far, and more than 14,000 children are in imminent danger of dying of starvation. As Cindy McCain said last week, and I quote, "Families in Gaza are starving while the food they need is sitting at the border." That is a gross violation of both U.S. and international law. What did you do? Nothing. Not once did you publicly call upon the Netanyahu government to end the blockade. Fortunately, other countries spoke out, and now we see a tiny trickle going in. Where have you focused your energy instead, Mr. Secretary? Well, your first trip as Secretary of State was to El Salvador, not to promote democracy, but to cozy up to President Bukele, who calls himself the world's coolest dictator. The result was a cash for collusion deal to deprive people living in America of their constitutional rights to due process. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, instructed you to facilitate the return to the United States of Abrego Garcia, who the administration admitted was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. Your response? You've openly flouted judicial orders. When asked whether you have been in touch with El Salvador to return Abrego Garcia, you boasted, quote, "I would never tell you that. And you know who else I would never tell? A judge." Clearly, you don't care about the Fifth Amendment right to due process, and you don't care about the First Amendment either, since you've been very busy snatching students off of college campuses for exercising their right to free speech. You dredged up a relic from the McCarthy era to claim that student protesters posed a threat to the foreign policy of the United States. Give me a break, Mr. Secretary. You know as well as I do this isn't about national security, it's about punishing free speech. And you know that in America, the government doesn't get to use its power to punish speech it doesn't like. Yet in March, you boasted about revoking student visas, saying, and I'm quoting, "We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa," unquote. Let's look at one of those lunatics, Mr. Secretary, Ms. Ozturk. Her crime was co-authoring an op-ed in her college paper critical of Tufts University's response to the war in Gaza. Your own department found 0 links to terrorism, no anti-Semitic statements, but you still yanked her visa and shipped her off to detention in Louisiana. And the list goes on and on. The federal judge in the case of Mohsen Madawi, who is the Columbia student who was ambushed by federal agents at his citizenship appointment, said, and I quote, this is the judge, "Legal residents not charged with crimes or misconduct are being arrested and threatened with deportation for stating their views on the political issues of the day. Our nation has seen times like this before, especially during the Red Scare and Palmer raids. Like the McCarthy-era witch hunts of the 1950s, your campaign of fear and repression is eating away at foundational values of our democracy. Back then, it took one voice, Attorney Joseph Welch, to cut through the hysteria with the simple question that marked the beginning of the end of that shameful era. He asked Senator McCarthy, have you no sense of decency? And I would ask you the same, Secretary Rubio. You have shown through your words and your actions what the answer is. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record and
flippant
what you
statement,
stand
Mr.
for.
Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add.
Well-
your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman-
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I raised
don't regret
Sudan, Mr.
psychosocial support services.
I
for
raised
USAID.
Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I
not
respond, Mr.
Mozambique.
Chairman, or do I?
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes of
I chose
railing
to
on-
use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend,
time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one that you had a margarita with. And that guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear. In the days to come,
Mr.
you're going to see
Chairman,
who you went to
look,
defend.
I'm sorry,
Please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in
Senator-
the United States because
Well,
he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I have under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them, we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation, under our division of powers in this country, and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again, and we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order. What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody. What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ozturk did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she
And if
did?
you do
Come
that,
on, Mr. Secretary.
and every single
You're
one of
just
these
blowing
cases, the
smoke
factors
here
are
now.
different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're
Senator,
coming here to
we've-
stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you
Does
have
the
a visa
First Amendment
and we find
apply
you,
to
we will
people
revoke
living
it.
in the United
And
States?
we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through
Writing
a bunch
an
of
op-ed
lunatics
to the
who are
tough
here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy
that.
of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can
That's
find more of these people.
pathetic, Mr.
In fact, the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much safer
All right,
when you lock
let's,
up people like Ms. Ozturk, Mr. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much.
This is the same tired playbook the left uses every time we try to protect America from bad actors. They scream McCarthyism whenever we enforce our laws and protect our national security. It's pathetic. Now let's address the elephant in the room, foreign policy. Van Hollen is upset that Rubio won't bow down to judicial overreach. Folks, this is separation of powers 101. The judicial branch cannot dictate how the executive branch conducts foreign policy. Can you imagine if every federal judge could order our Secretary of State to reveal classified diplomatic conversations? Our allies would never trust us again. Rubio absolutely schooled Van Hollen on basic constitutional principles. No judge can order him to negotiate with foreign leaders, and if they did, he'd be under no obligation to share those conversations with the courts. That's not how diplomacy works, and it's not how our government is supposed to function. The funniest part of this entire exchange was when Van Hollen said he regretted voting for Rubio's confirmation. And what did Rubio say? Your regret confirms I'm doing a good job. Boom. That's the kind of confidence and conviction we need in our leaders. Look, here's what this really comes down to. The liberal establishment is absolutely terrified that we finally have leaders who put America first instead of apologizing for our greatness. They're used to weak, globalist politicians who bend the knee to every international organization and spend our money on every ridiculous cause around the world. But now we have Marco Rubio, a true conservative warrior who understands that America's interests come first. When he cuts wasteful foreign aid, that's money that can be invested in American priorities. When he revokes visas from troublemakers, he's protecting American students and American campuses. When he refuses to let judges micromanage foreign policy, he's defending the Constitution. Van Hollen represents everything that's wrong with the swamp. He's more concerned about appeasing international critics than protecting American interests. He wants to keep sending billions overseas while Americans struggle. He wants to let foreign nationals run wild on our campuses while American students suffer. Well, guess what? Those days are over. We have leaders now who aren't afraid to stand up for America, who aren't afraid to make the tough decisions, and who definitely aren't afraid to tell whining liberals like Van Hollen exactly where they can shove their fake outrage. This is why elections have consequences, folks. This is why your vote matters. When you vote for America First candidates, you get America First results. When you vote for conservative warriors like the ones President Trump appointed, you get people who will fight for you instead of fighting for global elites. So let me know in the comments, what did you think of Secretary Rubio's performance? Are you as proud as I am to finally have leaders who put America first? And make sure you're subscribed because we'll keep bringing you the truth that the mainstream media won't tell you. Until next time, this is Right View Nation. Keep fighting for America.